Hello everyone, welcome to our lesson on understanding numbers and basic operations. I'm Teacher Bob, and today we're going to explore how we use basic math operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division with integers. These operations are essential not just in math class, but in everyday life as well. Ready to dive in? Let's get started here. All right, let's break down the four basic operations of arithmetic and how they apply to integers. Integers are just whole numbers, including negative numbers, zero, and positive numbers. These operations will help us with tasks like balancing a budget, calculating distances, or even figuring out a discount when you go shopping. Let's start with addition and subtraction. Adding and subtracting integers can be tricky, especially when negative numbers are involved, but let's walk through these slowly. When you add two positive integers, and I'm going to put the positive signs in parentheses here. When you add two positive integers, your answer will always be positive. 5 plus 3 is equal to 8 would be an example. When you add two negative integers, the result will always be negative. So negative 5 plus a negative 3 would equal a negative 8, or negative answer. So positives plus positives equal positive, and negatives plus negative equal negatives. When you add a positive integer and a negative integer, the result depends on what the larger absolute value of the numbers are. Now, when I say absolute value, this simply means how far the numbers are from zero. And we have special symbols to represent that. Now, if we had a negative 3, and we wanted to know how far that number was from 0, we can write it like this. What is the absolute of negative 3? How far is it from 3? Well, it's 3 units away from 0. So the absolute value of negative 3 is equal to positive 3, or 3 units away from 0. The absolute value of positive 3, well, that's just on the other side of 0, the same distance, would also be 3 as well. So when we're adding or subtracting numbers with different signs, all we need to do is we disregard the positive and negative signs, or we just ask ourselves which number is further away from 0, and we take that larger number and we subtract the smaller number without regard to the signs, and then the answer has the sign of the larger number. So a couple of examples here. If we had, let's say negative 5 plus a 2. Well, if we're adding two different signs, we're going to take the number with the larger absolute value. In this case, it would be 5, just 5. We're going to subtract the smaller number. We get 3. And the sign that's attached to the number with the largest absolute value or distance from 0 is negative. We would just put that negative sign in front of our answer. Simple as that. So just take the larger number, subtract the smaller number, and put the sign that's the larger number has. Some real life examples. For example, what if you owe $5? I'm just going to go to another page here so we have more room to work here. If we say we owe $5, that would be a negative 5. And say you borrowed another $3, so that would be subtract a 3. Because you owe 5 and then you're going to owe another 3, so that's subtract 3. How much do you owe now? Well, that's equal to negative 5 plus a negative 3, and that is, well, negative plus a negative is equal to a negative, so we have our answer is negative 8. So we owe $8. That's the total amount that we owe. So here's another example. If you have $10 and you spend $4, how much do you have left? Well, that's simply 10 subtract 4 is equal to 6, and you've got $6 left. Okay, let's talk about multiplying and dividing. When you multiply two positive numbers, your answer is going to be positive. If you multiply two negative numbers, oops, just say negative here, times a negative, you're going to get a result of a positive number. So positive times a positive is equal to positive, negative times a negative is also equal to a positive. If you multiply a positive by a negative or a negative by a positive, you've got two different signs. Your answer is going to be negative. Division follows the same rules as multiplication. The only difference is that division is essentially the opposite of multiplication. So when you're dividing, if you have the same signs, you're going to get, like with multiplication, you'll get a positive answer. If your signs are different, you're going to get a negative answer. So let's try some more examples here. Let's multiply some integers. So suppose you're calculating the total cost for 5 items, and each of those items cost negative $3 because you owe the money. So we can write this down as 5 times negative 3. And 5 times 3 is 15. And if we're multiplying two different signs, we're going to get a negative. So our answer is negative $15, or meaning you owe $15. Now let's do a division example. If you have $12, and that's a positive 12, and you want to divide it among 3 people, how much does each person get? Well, 12 divided by 3, of course, is 4. So each person gets $4. But what if you owe $12 and you wanted to divide that by 3? Well, it's a negative divided by a positive. Remember, the rules for multiplying and dividing are if the signs are the same, you're going to get a positive answer. If they're different, you get a negative. So we're going to get a negative 4 for our answer here. Negative 12 divided by 3. That means that each person would get negative $4, or I suppose in this case maybe it's being borrowed, so maybe you owe each person $4. Maybe they're loaning you money. If you found this video helpful, be sure to follow and leave a comment. Click the link in the comments to check out all of my math course offerings. Remember, math is a journey, and Teacher Bob will be with you every step of the way. Bye for now, and we'll see you next time.